Welcome students. We are back with another lesson. In this lesson, we'll solve numerical on the ratio of the intensity of maxima upon minima, and we'll solve a numerical on the amplitude ratio. Now before we start our numerical, let us revise what we have discussed in our previous class. In our previous class, we have derived the ratio of the intensity. Your I maxima by I minima equals to R1 plus R minus 1 whole thing square, where R is known as your amplitude ratio of the two waves. That means the ratio of A1 by A2, where A1 is the amplitude of the light wave coming from your slit S1. A2 is the amplitude of the light wave coming from your slit S2. And since the intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square, so I can also say my amplitude is directly proportional to square root of intensity, vice versa. Fine. So I can write the ratio of A1 by A2 as the ratio of the square root of intensity root over I1 by root over I2. Fine. So this was your ratio of maxima by minima, the intensity at maxima by the ratio of the intensity at minima. Next, we have derived the relation or the ratio for the slit width. W1 is the slit width of your S1 and W2 is the slit width of your second slit. So W1 equals to W1 upon W2 equals to I1 upon I2, where I1 is the intensity of the light from your slit S1, I2 is the intensity of the light from your slit S2, which in turn can be written as the ratio of the amplitude square, since intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square. So W1 by W2 can also be written as A1 by A2 whole thing square. And you know what is A1 by A2? A1 by A2 is your amplitude ratio. Therefore, your slit width can be written as W1 by W2 equals to R2 or R square. Fine. Now, let's take our first question. What is the ratio of the slit widths if the amplitude of the light waves from them have the ratio of root 2 is to root 2 1? Sorry, root 2 is to 1. So in the question, they are asking us what will be the ratio of the slit width, the ratio of W1 by W2, if they has given us the amplitude ratio. The ratio of the amplitude coming from your first slit to second slit is root 2 is to root 1. Fine. Now we remember your slit width ratio is W1 upon W2, which can be written as the ratio of the intensity coming from your slit S1 by the intensity coming from your slit S2. Now, since intensity is directly proportional to amplitude square, so I can write I1 by I2 as A1 square upon A2 square. So your slit width can be written as A1 square upon A2 square. And since in the question they have already given us the ratio of the amplitude, therefore we can solve this value here to find our ratio of the slit width. So I can write W1 upon W2 as A1 upon A2 whole thing square. And we know what is the ratio of the amplitude. It is root 2 is to root 1. So substitute the value here. So if I substitute the value, then let's open this square bracket. So if I open this, root 2 square will be 2, 1 square will be 1. So the ratio of the width is 2 upon 1. That means if this width is 1 units, can you see this second width is 1 units, then how much, then what will be the size of this W1? What will be the slit width? In this case, the slit width will be 2 units. So your slit W1 will be bigger than your slit W2. Fine. Now this is a simple question. Let's take another question. In this question, two coherent sources have intensity in the ratio 25:60. Find the ratio of the intensity of maxima and minima after the interference of light occurs. So in this question, they have given us the ratio of the intensity. Fine. The intensity of the light coming from slit S1 and the intensity of the light coming from your slit S2. And they have asked you to calculate the ratio of the intensity at maxima and your minima. Okay, so we remember the ratio of the maxima to minima is r plus 1 whole thing square upon r minus 1 whole thing square, where this r is your amplitude ratio. So the amplitude ratio is r equals to I1 upon I2. Fine. Square root. Fine. Don't forget to put a square root. So r equals to root over I1 by root over I2. Right? Or you can also understand it like this. Suppose beta, your amplitude ratio can be written as A1 by A2. Fine. Now since your intensity is directly proportional to A square, so I can also consider the opposite case where your amplitude is proportional to square root of intensity. Fine. So if I use this condition here, then I can write the ratio of the amplitude A1 upon A2 equals to root over I1 by root over I2. Fine. Now, why have I done this? Because in the question, they have given you the ratio of the intensity coming from your slit S1, which is I1, and your slit S2, which is I2. So from here, I can find my R. So what is the value of R? R equals to square root of 25 by root over 16. 25 square root is 5, 16 square root is 4. So amplitude ratio is 5 by 4. Fine. And you know the intensity of maxima by intensity of minima equation. So it is r plus 1 whole thing square divided by r minus 1 whole thing square. And what is this r? R is 5 by 4. So substitute the value of 5 by 4 here. So 5 by 4 plus 1 is how much? Cross multiply 4 ones are 4, add 5 4 9. So it will be 9 by 4 in the denominator. Cross multiply 4 by 1, 5 minus 4 is 1. So 1 by 4. Therefore I can write fine. Now from here you can cancel this 4 square or let us simplify. Okay, then also we will cancel. Okay. So let us first simplify this one. What is 9 by 4 whole thing square? This is, what is 9 square? 81. What is 4 square? 16. Similarly here, 1 square is 1, 4 square is 16. Fine. Now this one will go to the denominator and this one will go to the numerator. So I can write this one as 81 upon 1, sorry, 81 upon 16 multiplied by 16 divided by 1. Fine. This 16 and this 16 gets cancelled. So what I am left with? 81 divided by 1. Fine. So let me write down. This will be 81 divided by 1. So what is the ratio of I maxima by I minima? It is 81 is to 1. That means the ratio of the maximum intensity. The maximum intensity will be 81 times more intense as compared to your the ratio of the minima. At minima you will have a very small intensity. Okay, so by small intensity it will be almost dark. Can you see? It has an intensity of 1. So 1 is very small as compared to this one, isn't it? So it will appear as if almost dark as compared to your intensity of the maxima. Fine. So in this similar manner, you will get the ratio of the maxima and minima. Here the intensity will be 81 times the intensity of your minimum. Fine. Fine. So this is also a simple question. Next. Okay. You can take this question as your homework. Fine. So let me just explain this question. In Young's double slit experiment, sorry, if Young's double slit experiment have width ratio 4 is to 1, deduce the ratio of the intensity at maxima in the interference pattern. So in this question, they have given you the slit width. Okay, the slit width is how much? 4 is to 1. And what they have asked you to calculate? They have asked you to calculate I maxima by I minima. Fine. They have asked you to calculate I max by I minimum. But to calculate your I max by I minimum, you have to find out this amplitude ratio R using your slit width ratio. Fine. And if you remember, the slit width ratio W1 by W2 is R square. So from here, can you find out your R? Your R will be square root of W1 by W2. Fine. So what you do, you substitute this value here and you will get the amplitude ratio. Okay, I'll just write down the answer. The amplitude ratio, okay, you can make out from here. If it is 4 is to 1, the amplitude ratio will be 2 is to 1. Fine. So I'll just write down it will be 2 is to 1. Okay, you verify your answer from here. Fine. Now after you have found out your R, what you will do, you will substitute the value of R here. Fine. So you substitute the value of R here. 2 is to 1 means 2. Simply 2. Substitute the value. This will be 2 plus 1 whole thing square. That is 2 plus 1, 3. 3 square is 9. Similarly, 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 square will be 1. Fine. So the ratio will be 9 is to 1. Therefore, the ratio of I max by I minima should be how much? Your answer should be 9 is to 1. Okay. You can verify your answer here. Fine. 9 is to 1. So that's it for today's class. Thank you. And if you have any confusion, please don't hesitate to ask. I will re-explain it to you again. So again, thank you.